What's up, boys and girls? Today's video is about automotive air conditioning work. What's good, what's bad, what works and what doesn't work. Let's get to it. So what you're about to see is our setup for doing AC work, finding leaks, charging systems, and so on. So it has taken me a long time to learn all of this stuff. What you see here is a nitrogen tank with a manifold gauge hooked up to it and a regulator. This allows us to basically supercharge the AC system after we evacuate it. And then we can go around listening for leaks and checking for leaks. We have PAG oil with UV dye in it, an oil injector, and this little guy right here. This is a refrigerant sniffer. It sniffs for leaks. So whenever you get pesky leaks that you can't find, whenever you're looking for a leak, you got like 3 ways to do it. You are either looking for oil stains on the lines, the hoses, the condenser, compressor, any of the components. You're either looking for oil, or if you don't see any oil, you can evacuate the system and either charge it with refrigerant, but refrigerant's expensive. So guys will either charge it with compressed air, which is bad. You shouldn't do that, but a lot of guys do. Or you can charge it with nitrogen, and then you go around spraying soapy water on all of the connections, and then look for bubbles. So between the sniffer, the soapy water method, the looking for oil, and the nitrogen, that's about all you've got, other than listening and hearing the leak. But nine times out of 10, you are not going to hear a leak, and they're pretty hard to find sometimes. This car is a 2017 Kia Forte, I think it is, and we tried doing the oil method. We charged the system up, put the green dye oil in there, and sent the guy down the road because that's all he wanted to do at the time. So it came back. We're looking for oil. No oil anywhere. None of these connections, as you can see, have traces of oil on them anywhere. We charged up the system with, at the time, refrigerant. Got our soapy water bottle out, sprayed the whole system down everywhere. Couldn't find a leak anywhere. So actually on this car, we bought the sniffer that you just seen over there. That is our newest tool. And our sniffer allowed us to find a refrigerant leak in the evaporator core. So as you can see, it's all going back together now, but the seats are out of the car. We just put the dash back in. And here is the evaporator core. Now, I know that you guys can't smell videos, but if you look on the bottom right corner of this evaporator core, you'll see that it's darker over here. And if you smell with your nose right around here, it just smells like metal. But if you smell over here, it smells like refrigerant really bad. This little section right here is where our refrigerant is leaking in this. There is no way I would have found this leak without that sniffer. So I guess looking back on everything, different leaks call for different measures. A lot of the time people like to think that the condenser is the number one thing that could cause a leak, simply because it's what takes all the bugs and birds and dust and everything like that. But that's not always the case. And I know a lot of guys can't afford the nitrogen or don't have the nitrogen. But if you work in a shop, you should have the nitrogen. I've probably got about $400 or $500 total in the nitrogen setup, and I would say that it's going to prove itself well worth it. If you just use a regular air hose, which is what a lot of shops do. They will take compressed air, like shop air, and use the shop air with one of these and put the air into the system. Yes, you can do that, but if you do some research, something kind of along the lines of this, you charge the system with air, and then the air has moisture in it. The moisture from the compressed air gets trapped in the oil, and then something about the oil becoming acidic and contaminating the system. I don't want to risk that. You know, whenever we repair somebody's car, I want it to be as good as it possibly can. So the good thing about the nitrogen is that it's actually dry. It's like dry air going in there, and rather than putting moisture into the system, it actually eliminates moisture from the system. It like, so to speak, absorbs the moisture. So if you're completely new to AC work, this is a manifold gauge. You can get these at Harbor Freight for about $80, and they kind of go up in price from there depending on where you get it from and what kind of quality you're after. To do any type of real automotive AC work, if you're charging a system, you basically can't do it with anything lower than this. This is about as low as it gets if you actually want to get the job done and done right. This is what's used for filling the system. This is like your gateway to the system. Now, you also have to vacuum the system down, and that's where one of these guys comes in. You can get these at Harbor Freight or anywhere else for a minimum of about $60 for a decent one. And if you don't have a big fancy AC machine like this one, this is what you use: a vacuum pump and a manifold gauge. And that is what you have to use. You can't go any cheaper than that. And then as far as weighing the refrigerant to know exactly how much needs to go in the vehicle, which in this vehicle is 530 grams plus or minus 25 grams, so 565 grams. To know exactly how much you're putting in the vehicle, if you are using the manifold gauge and the vacuum pump, you can get like a decent sized postage scale and weigh your tank. And when the weight of the tank drops by that 555 grams, it is, I think I said 565 a minute ago. Whenever it drops by that 555 grams, then you know that that's exactly how much refrigerant that you have put into the vehicle. So to recap, when you're testing for leaks, you have a few methods. Method one is looking for signs of oil, always looking where these fittings meet rubber. That's always a good leak point, a good place that something could be leaking there. Always look for oil. Always check your Schrader valves for tightness, see if they're leaking. Method two is either charging it with refrigerant if you don't have nitrogen, and spraying soapy water. Once it's charged, soap up the whole system all around, look for leaks. And then method three is the sniffer. The sniffer, that one right there, costs about $150. I would say that's probably about as cheap as you can go if you want to get a decent one. And that little guy right there is what makes the difference. Having the three methods of finding the leak, between those three methods, you should always be able to find it. Sometimes it takes a long time, but it is what it is. And one thing before I forget to mention, when you are looking for the UV oil dye, you know, if you're just looking at it from a glance, you know, if it's a really bad leak, you'll be able to see if oil is on a hose. But if it's not as obvious, what can aid you when you are looking for the oil using that method is you can get this stuff like anywhere: AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Amazon, anywhere. These are like green glasses that aid you in finding the oil that just came out from the system. When you combine the green glasses, looking for green dye, with a black light, a black UV light, it really, really makes it shine, as you can see. And then when you put those glasses on, it makes it 10 times brighter. So don't forget the glasses and the light. So if you find this video helpful, and I hope you do, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to us, because that helps us to make more videos. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a great day.